Well, on behalf of MyTac, we are thrilled to welcome Joe Hamilton here today from Mazel Custom Tattoo and Body Piercing. Joe has had 25 years of tattooing experience and will share some of his personal journeys today through life, career, travel, and tattoos. So without further ado, we have a brief video that we'll show, and then Joe will take it away.
Hey everyone, name's Joe Hamilton. I'm here from Mazel Custom Tattoo and Body Piercing. Oh man, where do I start? So I've been doing this about 25 years. It started out, I was like 19, 20 years old, wrapping up some military service. And I was doing a lot of graffiti on railroad tracks and abandoned buildings. I grew up in Lynn. It's pretty fun city to grow up in, I think. So this woman moved in upstairs from me and she didn't want to tattoo anymore. She's been doing it for like 15, 20 years. Offered to sell me some used equipment, show me the basics of how to use it. I tattooed a friend of mine one day, and this was after a couple of weeks of doing practicing on pig ears and grapefruits and stuff. And for some strange reason, another friend asked me to tattoo them, and then another friend asked me to tattoo them. Then all of a sudden, I've got this like part-time job on the weekends, and all of a sudden, I'm making more money on the weekend doing what I'm doing than I am working 40 to 50 hours a week in a plastic factory, which, God, I don't even know if we have many of those around here anymore, but factory work's really, really hot and strenuous. It's not enjoyable. So from there, it was like, okay, what do I do with this? And I wanted to get good. I wanted to get as good as the guys in the magazines. I thought maybe this was a way to get me out of the environment I was living in. And I thought I was doing great, right? Because, people were asking me to keep doing this on them. And I learned real quick that even though we say that 10,000 hours equals mastery, if you're practicing doing the same mistakes over and over and over again for 10,000 hours, you become a master of making mistakes. So I showed up at a tattoo convention with some photos of stuff that I had done, and people asked what I was using to sterilize my stuff with, if I had taken this course or this course, and none of them would talk to me until I did all that. So I did all that, and doors opened up. I started working in my first actual tattoo shop in Long Island, New York. And that didn't last too long. I ended up in New Hampshire from there. We're looking at about a 5-year time span at this point. And so I'm working at the shop up in New Hampshire, and I met this really cute girl and had my wonderful daughter at that time. That was 99. Fast forward a little bit, I've tattooed pretty much every state on the East Coast. My daughter's now 22. I've been over to Hawaii for a good 3 to 6 month guest spot over there. Painting's a huge part of my career. I often say that I tattoo so that I can afford to paint. Photography takes a good part in that as well. And I also rock climb to keep myself entertained and healthy. It's weird because all of those things create a huge balance for me. If I take any one of those things out too long, I really feel it inside. So through those 22 years, right, I will tell you, if you ever look for a job after you've graduated and the ad on the job says no drugs, no drama, chances are you will find it in that same place. Like I've been, I think this is the longest shop that I've ever like been at. Probably one of the longest jobs I've ever had is here in this studio. I've been here almost 8 years now. And for the most part, like, we're gypsies, you know what I mean? To get a tattoo artist to stay in one spot for a long time, it's pretty hard to do unless they own the place. And as an artist, you just kind of melt off of each other. You know, it's you need your inspiration from somewhere. And sometimes we have things like this that happen. We end up in a pandemic for a year, and inspiration and creativity kind of stifles down just as much as sitting in the house by yourself for a year. And it's hard. It's hard to stay inspired. I don't know. I wanted to keep this kind of like a behind the scenes kind of look. I wanted to, make a discussion out of it. So the Q&A is going to be very, very dependent on how all of this goes. I'm pretty much an open book. You can ask almost anything you want. I don't generally find any kind of language offensive. So, other people, let's just be conscious of their feelings, I guess. But let's open it up. You guys can ask whatever you have on your mind.
I was surprised when you said you're gypsies and you need to keep moving. Is that partly because you find that there's a subset of people who want a tattoo, and once you reach people in your neighborhood or in your state, there's only so much publicity you can have, and then you need to move to another town? Or is it simply to meet other artists and just from a creativity standpoint that you feel the need to move?
Okay, so I guess I see exactly where you're going. Like, depending on how saturated a town gets, right? Each person's only going to have a certain portion of that pie, right? But with tattooing, you have an age group of, well, legal age group anyway, of 18 to whenever they get to the point that I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, your skin just can't take it. I'm cutting you apart, and it's not cool. So you have a replenishing clientele in a certain aspect. So there's a lot of benefit to staying in one spot, right? Because people get to know you, you build a reputation. That reputation just keeps building and building unless you do something ridiculous. I think for me, like I grew up with a single mom who was agoraphobic, manic depressive, bipolar. And we moved pretty much year after year after year after year, right? Never really staying in one place. And so I think that kind of stuck with me for a long time, that like I wasn't supposed to just stay settled, right? And for some reason, like, I love Boston. It's my home. But at the same time, I don't feel like I belong in Massachusetts. I used to have some real deep resentments against this state because of, my upbringing. And so I think it's more on the inspirational aspect. Like, I've been here, like I said, almost 8 years now, working with the same person. So we can only fire each other up so much without making a conscious decision to try to motivate each other into doing new things.
It's so interesting. Thank you.
Good question.
We have a couple questions from the chat. First one from Asia. With the emergence of reality tattoo TV shows, do you feel it's hurt the respectability per se of the art?
The respectability of the art. So that one, like, that opens us up to perception, right? The way I perceive what tattoo art is supposed to be is completely different than somebody else. So for me, I think just typical stats of how things flow, right? They go on that up and down roller coaster. Almost every business sees it. At least in the want businesses, you know, the service industry, the things that you want, you have real good decades, and then you drop for a while, and kind of like fashion, you know what I mean? It repeats itself. So the reality shows came out right around the time that we were starting to have a little bit of a drift down anyhow, because the big emergence had to cool down anyway. And that big emergence in the early 2000s, from like 2000, you know, like probably 2000 to around 2012, was a real big time, right? A lot of celebrities getting tattoos. It was, everybody wanted one. And then the reality shows kind of like tried to capitalize on that, and they've run for almost a good 10 years now. And they went right through that whole slow down dip to where we're starting to peak up again. I think the most damaging thing that I think that those shows did is they give a false sense of the reality. Like, you see the Cover Up show where the guy just goes out back and he bangs something out in 5 minutes, puts it on. 10 minutes later, it's all done. And it's like, the reality was, she came in 3 months ago about the Cover Up. They talked about this 3 different times in consultations, sat down. It was an 8.5 hour tattoo that was done in 2 sessions. So I think that it did kind of distort people's perception a little bit. It's a reality show, you know what I mean? They need their ratings. Like, the judging is so hardcore on some of that stuff. Like, a natural little wiggle in a line, just because the skin just wasn't stretched just right in that one little moment, like, that's part of the art. You know, this is a piece of artwork on a living canvas that literally moves and breathes and ages. Like, there's some things that just have to be acceptable because of what we're doing. I
Yeah,
hope that answered that.
that I think so. And then, you know, you even gave a little bit more info. That was great. Next question is, how much do tattoos typically cost? And is the cost dependent on size, color, complexity, etc.?
So that's another tough one that that goes so deep. It's kind of like saying, okay, why these Air Jordans 99.95 and these ones 460, right? It's a tough call, because like, they were both made in the same factory by the same people, the same brand, you know. So like, first, some of it you're putting in, like, one of the first things that comes into prices is experience, right? Quality of work. Like, after doing this for, I'd say, at least 5 to 10 years, an artist starts to know what their product looks like with a shelf life as it's been growing and aging. and talking with repeat clients about how they're caring for it, if they're wearing sunblock, if they're not wearing sunblock. Some of them will tell you they are, but they come see you in June and they're sunburnt, and they come see you in August and, they're 16 shades darker than they are in February. All right, you're wearing sunblock, dude. Cool. But yeah, size, the complexity, the placement, the amount of time, the amount of material, all of that goes into it. So like our studio, we have $120 minimum tattoo costs. That's where everything starts. We keep $150 an hour in our minds as we're looking at something to think about how much time. Sometimes you can say that this tattoo in black and gray is X amount of dollars, and this tattoo in full color, same design, is X amount of dollars. And there's a certain price point above that, and that's where like material comes into play. But it's that's such a tough question to answer, because it becomes different for everybody. Like I'm really fast, so if I try to, I pretty much flat rate my tattoos as best I can, so that one, you're not shocked by a price tag at the end. You know what you're spending beforehand. And I'm fast. I would literally lose money if I went by the clock.
Yeah, that makes sense. And being a tattoo artist, it is an art. I can see how it is that it's hard to price them. Next up, another question from Asia. Tribal art has been trending, but some don't know the origins of the pieces. Have you ever refused to do a piece?
Refuse to do a piece of tribal? I don't think so. I guess so. That's kind of where most of the time, unless you're looking for something really specific and more specific on your experience rather than your completed project, right? Like I can do some really nice Polynesian stuff that's brought into me that I have no idea about, right? Like I can put together an Americanized version, right? That, that's what it is. You know what I mean? I took a piece of brass, I polished it up, told you it was gold, and then you found out it was brass. It's just what it is. So some things like that, that's your research. You know what I mean? Like if you're, if you're gonna wear something that is representing a culture that might not be yours, but you're just really into that, and you just have this passionate interest and love for it, like it's all good, but it's up to you to know what it means and why you're getting it. We used to have an old cliche, you pick it, we stick it. So
Cool, thanks. Next question from Maria. At what age is skin getting hard to tattoo on? Do you have a general age range that happens at?
not really. And I've tattooed people that are in their 80s, so it's more how you care about you and your body and your skin. It's like in the slideshow, I was in there getting tattooed, and as much as I don't like that it's happening, I'll be 50 in September. So I just got tattooed last summer, and yeah, it's just when it starts losing elasticity, you know what I mean, and starts getting really thin. Like I don't know, picture like the oldest, most almost dying grandma or grandpa that you've seen in a movie. Like you can see that they've just like really thinned them out and skeletonized them, and that's around the point where it's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna hurt you.
Thank you for that answer. Diane has a couple questions. First one, what have been some of the most interesting, creative, and artful tattoos that you have done?
Uh, See that's just so tough because it changes constantly. I guess one of the most recent was probably the magnolia flower that was in the video. Just because, I really enjoy doing flower tattoos, and I try to, in the spring and summer, catalog as many of my own photographed flowers as possible so that I can use them instead of rushing to Bing or Google. Um, "Hey, what do you got? What are we putting on here?" And I just go into my file folder.
Cool. Hopefully this question's a little easier. Maybe not. How many tattoos have you done over time?
Oh God. So a little more background and a little more seedy behind the scenes stuff. Drug and alcohol abuse does happen in this industry. It has happened to me a few times. Could be part of the moving and not staying in one place at a time. I never really paid attention to my averages or my numbers until probably the last 10 years. And right now I'm averaging, I remember like these last 10 years have kind of been on the downgrade of, business popularity. So in the last 10 years, I've been averaging about 270 tattoos a year. The 10 years prior to that, I was doing a lot of house parties in between different tattoo shop jobs. And when I do the house parties, it would be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There'd be a 10-person minimum. So that's about 30 people a week right there, maybe plus the house or whatever was in whatever shop I was in. You're looking at almost 100 people a week during that time. So I wouldn't even be able to guess. Like, I'm just not that good with math. We're not friends. So
All right, but a very high number.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I said, like right now, I'm averaging about 270 a year. So compare that to the work days. It's pretty much I tattoo pretty much at least every single day that I show up to work.
Incredible. All right. On to the next question from Jay. What are the factors that affect the shelf life of a tattoo?
Self-care, man. That's all it is really right there is self-care. Just daily lotion. Like I don't do it. You know what I mean? But if I was to if I was to shave my arms, my tattoos are going to stand out better, right? Because now the hair's not disguising it at all. If I was to shave my arms and then lotion them up with skin lotion every day for a week, everything's going to look great, right? Because my skin's going to be healthy. It's going to be moisturized. The transparency of my skin, well, the translucency is going to be a little bit greater because it's nice and healthy. So my tattoo, which lives in the dermis, is going to show through the epidermis just so much better.
Cool. Any suggestions in terms of the sun? You had mentioned that earlier.
Stay out of it the best you can. I mean, doctors will tell you that too. Like, it's not good for us. Like, I mean, it is. We get our vitamin D. We need it. We crave it. Like, I absolutely love it. Like I was saying before, you see me in August, I'll also be about 7 or 8 shades darker than what I am in February. But that's the best. Or you can go with how a lot of us look at it, and that you got your tattoo at a certain time in life because it meant a certain thing to you. After a little bit, it becomes like any other possible scar that you have on your body, where you don't notice it as much anymore. It's just become a part of you. There's a memory attached to it, right? You're not lotioning that up. You're not doing anything to that to preserve it and make it stay, right? If anything, you want it to kind of blemish off a little bit for the most part, but you don't do anything special to it. An aging tattoo is just like an aging painting. You know what I mean? There's a lot to be said for a tattoo and how old it is and how it's just there, and the lastability factor of it. Like, I do absolutely nothing, that's just, and I'm also not concerned about any of them. When I 1997, I was this old, I was with these people, we were doing this, and we were living here, and it just can flood back tons of memories. So
Cool.
let them age.
All right. And then Kristen asks, do black and gray or color tattoos age better? Is there a difference between the color schemes?
There actually isn't. Depending on self-care, they're going to kind of age the same way. The thing that happens is, like if you're in the sun a lot, color's probably not the best choice. Some colors are just natural to our bodies. So like I said, the tattoo lives in the dermis, and the epidermis kind of goes over it. It's translucent, so you can kind of see through it a little bit. The ink never totally dries. It's kind of like an oil painting. So it's never 100% dry. You're probably looking at, I don't know, maybe like 98.7. That's why it kind of shifts and moves a little bit with age, right? Why you can have it perfectly placed, say, perfectly placed in the center of my hand, and 10 to 20 years later, it might actually be over here a little bit, right? Just because of the body growing and shifting. Hand's probably not the best example. Yellows, reds, some blacks. The sun just loves to eat those colors up. Look at signs and paintings that you see out and about in the city, right? The sun just instantly like wants to fade those down. The body also wants to just like eat them up. Sometimes it's just like a yellow, the body just, you might have a yellowy tone to you, and the body just takes it away. Whites tend to just get real settled. So like they're just not there like when it was freshly done. Black and gray seems like it ages better. Well, it seems like it's the better option simply because it actually does age better. When we want to see color, we want to see bright, vibrant color, right? You look at a lilac bush, you want to see bright purple bushes of lilacs, right? It's kind of boring when they're not there in bloom and it's just a leafy bush. But the black and gray will age better because for some reason it actually looks better as it matures and fades down and gets softer and smoother, if it's done properly anyway.
Oh, thank you. Next question from Tracy. Do you first sketch or paint the design on paper and experiment with the colors and shades before applying the tattoo?
Really depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes yes, a lot of times no. So I do not book myself out for months and months in advance. I don't think that it's fair to people. Tattoos are still very impulsive for a lot of people. So we do try to keep a lot of walk-in room available. I usually book like maybe one appointment a day. I only book out maybe 2 weeks at a time. I've found if I book further than that, then if you wake up with 2 flat tires, your tattoo money's gone. It's paying for new tires. You know what I mean? It's, if I make you wait 3 months, you may have found somebody else. Then I'm sitting with days open. So, it really depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes it's just, it's an average, like say just something off the wall, right? Bang, everything's done for me already. A lot of people bring images in from Google or Bing on their phones. Sometimes it's just, okay, you show me a tattoo, it's got these 3 elements. I find these 3 elements. If they're all color photos and I'm doing it in color, I don't really have to do much work because my reference is already there for me. It's just in pieces until I put it all together, and then I go from there.
Cool. Another question from Jay. For hairy areas, such as an arm or the chest or back, would I need to shave first before having the tattoo applied?
Sometimes it can be a nice benefit to come in and save me that little bit of time. That is a part of our job. It's, if we were to give you itemized bills at the end of the tattoo session, then your disposable razor and a shaving fee would probably be in there. Sometimes I prefer that the clients do not pre-shave. Mostly just because of the fact that a lot of times they're not familiar shaving that certain area. So if you typically shave your arms and chest, cool, excellent. You've got experience. You won't come in with bumps or redness that'll bother my process. If you don't have experience shaving those areas, electric razor and just like get rid of the heavy stuff and we'll take care of the rest.
Cool, thanks. If anyone else has questions, you can feel free to either unmute if you're fine showing up in the recording or drop that question into chat while we wait to see if there's any more questions to come in. How do you have any particular feelings for or against specific tattoo styles?
No, not really. There's some stuff that I won't do. There's some stuff that maybe I'm not 100% comfortable with it, but I will give that person the option of like 24 hours of thought to make me feel better. And if they come back, then I'll tattoo them. Yeah, it's so hard. Like it's funny. There's so many questions that just there's so many answers for them. It's hard to like just narrow it down to a yes or no or a specific. But as far as like the different styles, there's some stuff that like I might just say, listen, like sorry, that's out of my league. Like I can do this for you, but if you want that, you've got to go here. So.
Yeah, that's understandable. Another question from Asya. Do you do cover-up tattoos?
I do. Cover-ups are never something that you should just walk in for. So in general, a lot of people seem to think that a cover-up is that we just take the Dunkin' and put something right over there and it's covered, and that's not how it works. So black only covers black. So you want to cover this, this little section here, right? What I want to do is I want to put something over here that's also going to end up over here, right? But it's going to pull your eye here so that you don't notice this. So cover-ups are more of a camouflage thing. And they do have to be larger most of the time than what's originally there. I've had the arguments before with people coming in asking about a cover-up, and they've been to 4 or 5 other places, and they're not understanding why to cover something this big, it has to be this big. And then I sit down and I kind of try to go through the whole thing of explaining why that actually has to be, that, these guys aren't just trying to inflate the price and rob you. They're trying to do a good cover up. Sometimes we can just slap a rose over something, you know what I mean? But it's kind of a little bit of a sacrifice on your end if you're impatient about what you're going to do for your cover up. The laser removal places, there's one here around town called Boston. Disappearing Ink in Boston. They, most of the people that work there are pretty heavily tattooed. They understand about somebody coming in and just getting something lightened up a little bit so that they can have a more successful cover up. That's always a great option to do depending on what you're covering and if you have size restrictions. But yeah, we do cover ups. They're an interesting, new little project, usually a good little challenge in them.
Cool. A question from Anthony. Are there styles or designs that are regional that you've noticed are more popular in certain cities?
I think that stuff starts that way and then branches out everywhere somehow. Like the American traditional style stayed very popular in the Philadelphia area, and it remains popular in that area. Like, I think they just have a very large underground music scene compared to almost everywhere else. So that style seems to like stick there and stay. And it's been branching out. Like, I remember really wanting to do a lot more American traditional stuff like 10, 15 years ago. And it just hadn't made it here yet. And it's funny because it's like you're talking Philly to Boston, right? Like very compatible cities as far as like music wise and culture and such. And it just wasn't here. It's coming here now, but it's that's mostly, I think, artists just trying to push it,
Cool. Another question, this one on cover-ups. Is there a limit to the number of cover-ups that could be done in one area?
Yeah. So first of all, you should never be getting a tattoo with the idea in mind that, well, if he leaves me or if she leaves me, I can cover it. Should never be getting a tattoo thinking this is silly. If I regret it, I'll cover it. When you're picking your design, focus on the memory factor. Like, even if it's a best friend's tattoo, right? Just, it happened. I've literally seen it happen where 2 young ladies got a best friend tattoo, and a week later they had a big fight, and one of them came in and wanted to cover it up because they're never going to speak to this person again ever. First, it was way too soon to be able to cover it. The other is that make up some other excuse, enjoy the tattoo, keep it, have the memory of the fight and how ridiculous it was 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Because my favorite song today won't be my favorite song in 10 years.
Thank you for that response to Melissa's question. Next up, Tracy's question. What kind of pain during and after should you expect?
So also you don't have to avoid your ankle. You can get it on your ankle. It will hurt. You'll feel it. Pain's temporary. The tattoo will last forever. It's different for everybody. It really is. I personally find it to be a pinching sunburn kind of feeling. Did you ever in like third or fourth grade take somebody's forearm and rub it and rub it and rub it and rub it, right? And make that friction burn happening. That's about what the pain is. Usually for about 24 hours, you might still feel that kind of warmth in the area, a little bit of discomfort from touch. That can last a couple of days. Your pain tolerance is yours. It's most people do pretty great. I think that's why so many people have tattoos, is that it's not as bad as we think. Paper cuts kind of hurt worse because they're unexpected. This is a little more, advantageous, I guess would be a good word, because we're getting ready to volunteer for this. Like we're walking in someplace saying, I would like this tattooed on me. I'm going to pay you what you're asking to do this. And yeah, it's going to fucking hurt a little bit.
Cool, thanks. Next question, what is the ink made from? And are there certain colors that are toxic or not preferred for health reasons?
So the ink, most inks are basically just a powdered pigment, water, isopropyl alcohol. Some use different glycerins, whether it's a vegetable-based, animal-based. A lot of companies are starting to get away from the glycerin as much as possible, just because of the big vegan thing, which, hey, whatever makes my job a little bit better and keeps everybody happy, cool. What do you know what I mean? We're not actually supposed to be doing this. So you
Hey,
do
Joe,
still see
sorry.
some.
You cut
What's that?
off just a bit after mentioning the glycerin and people who are vegan preferring, that
Oh, okay, yeah.
non-glycerin inks. What did you say just after that?
So certain colors toxic or non-preferred for health reasons. We don't really see a lot of that too much anymore. The thing is, though, is that none of this is supposed to be happening. We're not supposed to be doing this to ourselves. So we do still see some red ink reactions here and there. Every now and then I'll see somebody have a reaction to the purple, which I usually tend to blame on the red because that's the primary color. For the most part, it's as safe as it can be. That's not to say that it's ever safe, you know what I mean? But it's as safe as possibly can be right now. If you personally have any kind of health factors or whatever, then we can determine things a little bit differently. Like diabetics heal slower, they bleed a little bit more. Hemophiliacs, that are on medication with blood thinners and such, we got to talk to their doctors and see if we can taper them for a little while, get them tattooed, bring them back to where they're supposed to be. Any kind of skin issues, we need to know those. somebody with like severe nickel dermatitis, right? They can actually have different reactions through different times of the year, depending on heat and humidity and where their body is, because of the different metals that can be found in some of the pigments.
Incredible. Another question. An artist my family uses frequently is moving out of state. What should we look for in a new artist or await recommendations?
If you guys have been using the same person for years and you're not the kind of tattoo people that like to collect and just go to various different artists, look, if he's not too far away, start getting tattooed once a year and make a trip out of it. And by not too far away, I mean, like, can you get in a plane and be there in under 4 hours? Can you get in the car and be there in maybe 4 to 6 hour drive and like see someplace new and, just make a whole new adventure out of it.
All right, cool. Diane asks, do folks request more trendy or more original tattoos? And what have been some of the most interesting tattoos that have been done or that you've seen related to a specific life memory?
So the first question, trendy or original? I'm only going to say it because I'm in a walk-in friendly shop that I do more trendy than original. What have been some of the most interesting tattoos that have been done that you've seen that are related to a specific life memory? So I think I'm reading this question properly. So most people, for a specific life memory, usually it's either husband or wife doing the testimony of love type tattoo, or it's birth or death. Not a lot of people are like, I had this accomplishment happen and I'm getting this tattoo. What I'm liking about this is that I think the most interesting is my own. When you use in the video that was playing, there was a shot of me getting tattooed. I had sent my first 510C outdoor lead climb in Rumney last summer. And so I got a bolt and hanger, which is what we clip the clip draws into. And I got that tattooed on my arm to celebrate that accomplishment. So I think that answers that.
Yeah. Next one, probably then Cynthia's. Have you ever refused to do a particular design? Everyone very much wants to know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like almost weekly, I refuse the inside of fingers. It's no matter how good I am, no matter how good I do the tattoo, it's not gonna last. I feel like you work hard for your money. I want to work hard for your money. And, I'd rather my clients became friends or, associates at some point. So I'm not going to steal from you. If I started to get to know you or you're under a certain age in certain aspects, there's some things that, like, if I feel like it's a huge mistake, again, I'll either just completely refuse or I'll ask you to think about it for 24 hours first. But yeah, things do get refused. It's, I can't consciously do a good job on something that I have absolute disdain for. So, or don't think is going to last. You know what I mean? It's, if I don't see a longevity in it, why do it?
Yeah, of course. Is there a recent story you have of, maybe the last tattoo you refused to do?
Oh, I wish I did, and I don't. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I've had to actually just straight refuse one. There was a young lady a couple of weeks ago that I wasn't gonna tattoo her that day of what she wanted. I just can't remember what it was right now.
Cool. And then Tracy's question, when did getting a tattoo rise in popularity, and why do you think there was this jump?
So I think that it was I think it was around the First World War that military tattoos started coming into a lot of popularity. Then that started coming stateside, through that travel. Second World War tattoos again became really, really popular, because there was just so many men and women that were, going into the service on both of those. Then there was, again, Vietnam, the 60s and 70s, right? Big popularity then. I think the popularity actually comes out of crisis, to be honest. So I had read a book probably when I was way too young to be reading this book. God, I wish I could remember the title of it because I'd love to reread it. But it really jumped into the psychological aspect of being tattooed, getting tattooed, doing tattoos. And one of the things that really stuck was an example about the 16 to 18-year-old student who is very introverted, possibly picked on at school, maybe bullied a little bit, kind of shy and just, doesn't click and fit in at all. He comes into your studio and he's going to get his first tattoo. That moment can make or break that young man. If you give him a shitty tattoo, he goes to school and it's only more ammunition for the bullies and anybody else, and just sends him deeper into himself. You give him a really fucking cool tattoo, and all of a sudden, that kid's underage. He's got a tattoo. He's the coolest kid in the friggin' 10th grade. All right. And maybe he comes out of his shell a little bit. So coming back to the popularity thing and crisis, I've talked to a few friends, and it seems like in some weird way, COVID has actually boosted tattoos and body piercing. We are all getting busier. A lot of people are starting to think that this is the start of the incline again. And like, I don't know, my bank account's telling me that, we're on a little bit of a rise. But I think, like, we've all been kind of like stuck inside. We can't go out to eat as much. We can't go out to the club as much. We can't go out drinking as much. You know what I mean? There's so much that we can't do that, like, people just need to, indulge in themselves sometimes. And that's how they do it. For some, it's a mental health thing. It's just, it's a way to get out of themselves for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Cool. Thank you. We don't seem to have any more questions in the chat. So I believe we could wrap things up. Jody, just put in a link to our survey. If you could please let us know all your thoughts about this talk, give us some feedback, try and make our next talk better. And Diane, drop the link to Joe's shop. And also be sure to check out his Instagram, and your Instagram handle is Hamilton_tattoos, correct?
Yep.
Great. It's a fantastic talk. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise, Joe, and sharing all those stories with us.
All right. Thanks, folks. It was a pleasure.